All right, let's get into it. You have a mixed number divided by a whole number. Your mixed number is 2 and 1/6, and you are going to divide that by 5, which is your whole number. Now let's see, what are we going to do with this? Remember I said you want to make sure that you have two fractions that you're working with when you are dividing. So there is something that you must do with this, and we went over this. Let's see if you remember. Remember, we have 2 and 1/6. What do we say that we are going to do with it? We are going to turn our mixed number into an improper fraction. Because remember, we said you always want to have two fractions that you're working with. And if you're doing something with your mixed number, you know that you need to do something with your whole number. But we're not there yet. Let's stick to this. You're going to turn 2 and 1/6 into an improper fraction. And you can pause this video so that you can solve it on your own. 2 and 1/6 is equal to 13/6. All right. If you are not sure of how we do this, remember you're doing 2 times 6 or 6 times 2. Doesn't matter which order you put it in. That's going to give you 12. Then you're going to add your numerator of 1. 12 plus 1 is equal to 13, which is why we have 13 in our numerator. And you are going to keep your denominator as well. Before we go on to our mixed number, I want to show you something about your mixed number. If you were to write your mixed number in expanded form, notice that this 2 right here is actually 2 wholes, and your fraction is 1/6. Now, remember we said fraction is a part of a whole, right? And if, let's say, I always go back to my bar model, and I know it's not even, but don't judge me. If we were to break up our bar model, our denominator is telling us how many parts to break it up into, and we have 6 parts. If you were to take 1/6 or shade in one part, that would be 1/6. 1/6 is just a part of this entire whole right here. And we know that we have 6 parts. So the reason why I did that is so that when you go back to your 2 wholes, what you actually have is 6/6 plus 6/6. These are 2 wholes because any number where you have your numerator and your denominator the same, that's going to give you 1. And if we should go back to our bar model and label it, if you add all of these wholes, notice that you have 6/6. This 2 whole is actually 6/6 plus 6/6. All they're doing is writing the 6/6 a shorter way. You have 6/6 plus 6/6 plus 1/6. If you were to add these, 6 plus 6 is equal to 12, and 12 plus 1 is equal to 13. Look at that. You still get your 13/6. So again, with math, there are different strategies that you can use, but as long as you understand what you are doing, you're going to be fine. Just use the strategies that you are most comfortable with. Math is not restricted to only one strategy. We're going to look at our whole number. Our whole number is 5, and you want to turn that whole number into a fraction. When you're dividing, you want to make sure that you're working with 2 fractions. All right. But make sure you work with fractions. You have 5. We're going to turn it into a fraction. And if you put 5 as your numerator and 1 as your denominator, it does not change the value of 5, because if you divide, you will see that 5 divided by 1 is 5. So putting 1 as your denominator is okay. Now that we have two fractions going on, we need to make sure that we find equivalent fractions. One, because our denominators are different. So you have 6 in one denominator, and then you have 1 in the other denominator. So you need to find equivalent fractions. 13/6 is the same thing as 13/6, and 5 ones is the same thing as 36. And we know that if we find our LCD, our least common multiple of 6 and 1, we know that all we're doing is adding that number however amount of times until we find the least number that they share. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to multiply 1 by 6. And remember the rule, whatever you do to your numerator, you do it to your denominator. And whatever you do to your denominator, you do it to your numerator. 1 times 6 is equal to 6. And 5 times 6 is equal to 30. Now we're going to go to 13/6. 6 times 1 is equal to 6. And 13 times 1 is equal to 13, because the rule is whatever you do to your denominator, you do it to your numerator, or whatever you do to your numerator, you do it to your denominator. After we're done finding equivalent fractions, what do we now do? If you say that we take our new fractions and divide them, you are correct. So we take 13/6, divide that by 30. And we already said we're going to ignore our denominators. Ignore that 6 in both your denominators. And then what are we going to do? We are going to now focus on our numerators. You're going to divide both your numerators. And remember, we read it from left to right, just like how you read a book. You say that you're doing 13 divided by 30. And when we are done with that, you want to make sure that you rewrite your fraction or rewrite your number as a fraction. Now you have 13/30ths, because 13 is on your left, that's your numerator, and 30 is on the right, that is your denominator. That is going to be it for this lesson. I hope that you learn how to divide mixed number by whole number just from watching this. If not, you can always go back and re-watch the video. I'll see you in the next one.